This is KUGAN CASSIUS Rifle Receiving Association with Malignaggi in Marbella. Take two. I just made a huge blunder in an interview with Paulie Malignaggi, but we don't have to talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk
about the non-blunders here.
Absolutely. Huge fight tomorrow night. Well, it'll be tonight by the time this goes out in England. So, Canelo versus Khan. What's being billed as power versus speed. What does Amir Khan have to do to win this fight, in your opinion, Paulie?
You know, he's got to use the natural gifts he has, the speed and all those other good things, but he's got to get control of the pace. One thing I've noticed about Amir, especially in fights with Maidana, Lamont Peterson, he loses control of the pace, and then he winds up having to hold a lot in order to, try to slow things down. Well, if you lose control of the pace against Canelo, then try to hold him, you're probably not going to have much success because Canelo's too big to just grab a hold of anytime you want to grab him. He's a naturally bigger guy. He's fights at a different weight class than you. So it's going to be a lot of work to constantly try to grab him once you've lost control of the pace. So the trick here is, I think, for Amir to use his speed in very clever ways, very cunning ways, and, pepper Canelo in some spots, mainly with the jab, and then, pick your spots to throw your combinations, and then stick back on the outside using your jab, changing the look, taking a step over to the left, taking a step over to the right, maybe a couple of steps either way, using your feints, just things that bide you a second here, bide you a second there, you know what I'm saying? And in between using that jab, and every once in a while, throw a nice combination in. And if you can just basically avoid the landmines here and there, which the landmines in this case are the exchanges. If you can avoid enough of them, you're going to wind up in some. Obviously, you can't get in the shower without getting wet, but if you can avoid enough of the exchanges and keep the fight on the outside in that way that I just described, easier said than done. You give yourself the best chance of winning.
Now, obviously, a much talked about aspect of this fight is the weight situation. They're fighting at 155 pounds for the middleweight title. There's a lot of people that just believe that a middleweight title should be contested at 160, period.
Of course.
What's your thoughts on it?
A middleweight title should be contested at 160, but, if the more people keep these contracts going and that people buy into these kind of fights, then they're giving them no reason to change things. I mean, people are going to keep buying into these fights. The fact that the fight sold well tomorrow, the fact that it'll sell well on pay-per-view, you know what, then people will continue to, you're not going to give the powers that be any risk factor as far as, let's make this fight 160 pounds because fans are getting tired of it. They're not going to get tired of it. So, the way it seems right now is the middleweight title may never be contested at 160 pounds unless Canelo loses this title. I don't know that there's many middleweights that can make 155 pounds. So you're going to end up seeing Canelo fighting probably a lot of non-middleweights for the middleweight title. It's become very strange.
Obviously, a topic that's come up constantly during this week is the topic of Gennady Golovkin. He kind of waits in the wings to see what happens with this fight and also waits to see whether the winner of this fight will go on to face him. Let's just talk about Canelo first of all, as he's the favourite in this fight. Do you believe that if he wins on Saturday night against Khan, he will take that fight with Golovkin?
No, I don't think so. I don't see that happening. I'll be honest with you. I don't see him fighting Golovkin. Would I like to see it? Absolutely, of course. I mean, I'm a fan just like everybody else, but I don't see the fight happening. I think Canelo has given himself a lot of options. He commands a lot of money. And when you command the money, you command probably you command the ability to dictate what you want to do. And it's unfortunate. You'd like to see the middleweight championship be disputed for and unified. And with that fight, Canelo and Golovkin, the middleweight title would essentially be unified. But with the exception of Billy Joe Saunders' title, but you'd be almost there. It's a shame.
Some quotes that have come out from Canelo and also Bernard Hopkins talk about Canelo's quotes about Golovkin not facing anyone of sort of any relevance on sort of Canelo's level so far, and Bernard Hopkins also saying that Golovkin should go up and wait and fight Sergey Kovalev.
Yeah.
What do you make of those?
Here's what I make of that. It's taken out of context, and here's why I tell you that. You can't force people into the ring with Golovkin. Listen, he's trying to fight everybody. They're not fighting. What do you want the guy to do? You want the guy to hold guns to people's heads and say, get in the ring and fight me? It's a lot easier for Canelo to get these fights than it is for Golovkin to get these fights. Golovkin has to end up fighting guys that have nothing to lose. Pretty good fighters, but nothing to lose, like a Dominic Wade. Hasn't made his name yet. Take a shot at Golovkin. David Lemieux hasn't made his name yet. Take a shot at Golovkin. Guys with established resumes have too much to lose in fighting Golovkin, and that's the shame of that. And you're not going to get in the ring with him. So you can't hold that against Golovkin, that he's trying to fight everybody, including Canelo, because Canelo's doing the same thing everybody else is doing. He's not fighting Golovkin. So what do you want from the guy?
What do you think will happen if Amir Khan is victorious against Canelo? Obviously, he's not a middleweight, and he's jumping up to fight at this at
Well,
155?
he won't fight Golovkin.
Period. You don't think that will happen at all?
No, I don't think so. But I think you could see maybe Khan and Mayweather. You know, I think makes it more realistic. You know, I think you could see that. You know, I don't see Khan fighting Golovkin either. I mean, I wouldn't fight Golovkin if I was Khan. I'll be honest with you. If I was able to pull one rabbit out of the hat by being Canelo when I'm not supposed to, I definitely wouldn't fight Golovkin after that.
What do you think Khan's options are if he doesn't win?
If he doesn't win, depends how he loses. Depend, you know, the perception of what's out there, you know, to the people. If he gets completely destroyed, he's going to have some rebuilding fights, possibly even in England, you know. If he loses in a good shootout, even if he gets stopped, but it's a nice little shootout, you know, his name stays relevant, and he can go to the welterweight division and continue to get big fights and possibly even get a Kell Brook fight. But if he totally gets blown out of the ring, honestly, he's limiting his options. He's going to have to rebuild, and he doesn't even have negotiating power with Kell at that point. You know, so you know, it's a risk. It's a risk.
What's the situation with you at the moment? Have you got any news?
The only news I have is that I've been named the mandatory for the EBU championship, EBU welterweight championship. That's Leonard Bundu's title. Now, I got to see how things play out as far as, you know, possible dates, possible amount of money, and if it's all worth it for me to make the welterweight division. Because KUGAN, I'm telling you, man, it's hard to make weight. I don't know what it's going on. I'm getting older. I'm gaining weight. Hey, it's harder to lose it. I don't know, bro. It's not the easiest thing in the world to make 147 pounds anymore, you know. So I'm gonna see, like, you know, what's involved, and if I feel it's worth it. Like, you gotta just make it, because I gotta suffer. I gotta really suffer to make 147. I can do it. I just gotta really suffer though, and like, it's gotta, if it's worth it for me to, if something's worth it, I'll do it.
Is that European title worth it for you to do that, to make
European
that weight?
title, it's almost worth it. We'll see what kind of money they're talking about too. You know, it's got to be the combination of things, and maybe a guarantee to get like a Broner rematch afterwards or something. You know what I'm saying? Where I vacated and get the Broner rematch. Where I'll have at least won the European title. You know, something. I'm just thinking out loud here, but I need something. Or, dude, I'm telling you, as crazy as it sounds, I'm not saying I would campaign at 154, but I'd fight for the EBU title at 54. I would. Yeah. Maybe I'd retire after that. And now, who's the European champion at 54? Cedric Vitus or something?
I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure.
But I'll be willing to do that even if they make it worth my while. You know what I'm saying? I won't have to lose as much weight. Like, dude, I'm telling you, making the welterweight division is hard, man. That fight in London, I was suffering to make weight.
Will you come back to England to have that fight, possibly?
I would love to. If they allow it, you know, if they can work it out, dude, I always love fighting in the UK, man. I'll always be down to fight in the UK. The fans are great. I get treated like royalty. Supportive crowd, and man, last fight I wasn't even the main event, so I got to hang out afterwards and call the fights. I mean, it's like one big party. Then we went back to the hotel and they'd have more parties, and everybody was in the pub afterwards. And my best friend.
The pub. I love the way you say the pub.
Yeah,
the
you
pub.
guys call it the pub, right?
The pub. That's what we call it.
It was great. It was great.
Just finally, obviously, Mayweather's dropped some not so subtle hints about potential return to the ring this year.
Not so subtle, you're right.
Not so subtle.
Not very subtle at all.
9 figures, that's all he wants, 9 figures.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you make of it? And if he is to come back, who do you think is in the running to fight him?
I think he will come back. I think he gave those not so subtle hints where he's probably telling you he's going to come back without actually telling you he's going to come back, you know? Now, I would think somebody like a Danny Garcia is going to get the fight, which makes sense on a lot of degrees, but I think, you know, if Canelo wins tomorrow, you know, Canelo Mayweather rematch for the middleweight title.
Would you like to see that?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to see it. I would. It's a chance for Mayweather to get his 6th world title. It's a chance to see how much Canelo's improved since the first fight, and a chance for him to avenge his only loss. Good little storyline there.
What about Broner Mayweather?
Come on, dude. Broner's got to beat me first before he beats Mayweather. Come on, bro. You got to beat me. You got to beat me like in a fight where people actually think you won the fight first. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just fight Mayweather and you leave me out and have it hanging like that. You can't do that. You can't do that. If Broner's got to fight Mayweather, he's got to fight me first. I don't want to hear it.
All right, well, listen, Paulie, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time.
All right.
And listen, whatever happens to you, hopefully we do see you back in England. And if it's for European title, it makes sense. I'm sure you give a call to Eddie Hearn. And
we do have to make it in England, right? Yeah. I mentioned it to him last week at the James DeGale fight. I don't think I didn't. I gave him a little hint, you know. I let him know, like I was kind of looking at hinting that way. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Paulie Malignaggi, thanks for talking to iFull TV. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.